Hey, we're going to talk about E3 because that's
Yeah,
what
we are.
everybody's doing. Why? Because it's important. This
Yeah.
is the Christmas. This is super. If Christmas happened, you wouldn't just on December 28th go, oh, well, let's forget about that. Let's talk about January. No, because the next part's boring.
You share your gifts with your friends, and that's what we're doing now.
I know. I love saying, what'd you get for Christmas?
Yeah, it's the best part.
I still
Just
ask my
flaunting it.
50-year-old mother, what'd you get for your birthday?
Presents are fun, and
Yeah.
no present is better than video game presents. And E3 is the time where we're all presented with video games.
Top
We had some favorites. Yeah.
5 favorites.
Back and forth. You got 5, I got 5.
Right. Okay.
Let's do this thing. So I guess technically top 10, guys.
In a way, but they could be shared. My
You never
number
know.
5
Yeah.
was that Pixel game, The Last Night.
Dude, you know what? I kind of just want to throw The Artful Escape in there too, because
Sure.
those two games, art style matters, guys. That's all I'm
It
saying.
really, really does. I mean, I think we're getting to the point where now, especially with indie games,
Yeah.
it's not just that ugly. There was one indie game that they showed. It was like an ARPG, like a strategic RPG.
Yeah.
Where you're moving around
Yeah.
the map, and they did it on the PC Gaming Conference. They're like, check out this level editing. I thought, man, PC really doesn't know what rocks a live crowd.
Yeah.
They're like, here's
Well,
a girl
hey,
at a
what do you-
computer.
Well, and that's the craziest thing about The Last Night and The Artful Escape is that we have no clue, kind of, except for inference, how they play and what
Yeah.
they're like. We just know they look really cool, and that's what sells us, guys.
Well, they talked to the guy and they said, he's a French dude, and they're like, what's this game all about? And he said influences from point and click and adventure, which I would imagine sort of and I'm thinking of that old game Flashback or Out of This World.
Out of This World, they remind me a lot of that.
If it has a good story and you have some kind of even if you have no agency over how the story goes, even if it's just like super linear, I just want like a good dark gritty story. I want some Blade Runner. I don't want it to come out right before Blade Runner. I don't know. Can't remember when it's coming out, but I'm super excited for that one.
It's going to be great, both of those games, but The Last Night in particular, because I think no one has ever really used that kind of 3D pixel art mixture. There's a show on right now called American Gods, and they do this really cool 3D effect where it looks like they're going all pixely. And that's exactly what it reminded me of. It's a really new technique that I've seen, but it's really, really cool, and I got to give it to them on that.
Great.
Guess what my number 5 is, Matt? Because I think you liked this quite a bit as well. The entire Devolver Digital press conference.
That was going to be my honorable mention.
Okay, so for those who missed it, because it was kind of out of nowhere, Devolver Digital, they're notoriously anti-E3, kind of like Rockstar. Square Enix didn't have a press conference this year, and Devolver Digital slides in, and we're all like, that's kind of weird. What happened was 14 minutes of the most esoteric, irreverent, E3 bashing comedy that I think they showed two trailers for games, both which were old trailers, I believe.
Yeah.
And it was essentially just a whole entire mockery of E3. They had bits about like earliest access and what if your comments on message boards would actually change the game. And it was all delivered really well by, I forget what the woman was who kind of spearheaded the whole thing, but she was great. Their nose bleeding. The whole thing was just so. Not only was it weird for E3, but it was weird in general, and it was super weird at a time where we needed it, especially coming off of like EA and some of the more ZZZZ press conferences. Devolver blew it out of the water at 1 a.m., and I think they really stuck it to E3. I think you said they out Rockstar, and I think that's the perfect example.
Yeah, I would imagine that if Rockstar was ever going to do a conference, this felt like one of the radio shows you hear when you're driving around in a Grand Theft Auto game.
Yeah.
But taken way further.
It was super over the top. Everyone was a giant character. It was interspliced with like laughing audiences from a movie theater. Lots of gore, a lot of disturbing imagery. Me telling you about it isn't going to convey it. It's 14 minutes long. If you guys are bored at work and you're on break, just look up Devolver Digital E3 press conference and you'll guaranteed to have a laugh, even if you don't like video games that much.
It was Hotline Miami, the conference.
Exactly. It was just a good thing. It was a nice 15 minutes of content, I gotta say.
And I thought they made a lot of great points, about earliest access, because there was so much pre-order now. How many times did you hear that phrase, pre-order now? And I love the comment, how you said about that comment created content. They seem to really be sticking it to people. And they
Oh, yeah.
said like the comments you make about the game that you love, but all the things you want it to change so badly.
Yeah, wait,
know.
I think she said this is about all the games you love, but you would love more if they were different.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Because you can feel the blood, sweat, and tears that go into making these games, and then when people go like, "Oh my God, this game totally needs a level editor."
Devolver did what a good stand-up comedian does. They not only went after the industry, but they went after the consumers as well. But it was all in good fun. It was a good time. What's your number 4, Matt? What do you got? What you got for me?
This was a classic Sony moment.
Yeah,
Take some nostalgia
pepper on some deliciousness.
and and some delicious new visuals. Remember that game you loved? Remember when it got remade on PS3? I'm gonna remake it again. Shadow of the
Remaster that
Colossus.
remaster.
Remake number, because this is not just a remaster. This is I think they're remaking this from the ground up, I do believe.
Yeah, no, I mean, it looks like it, because if you look at the remaster footage or the 2008 footage versus this, there's no way that that's just a remaster. They have to be doing those textures from the ground up. And I guess when you look at it, honestly, this might sound like a bash on Shadow of the Colossus, but it's a lot of empty space and
Yes,
just a
it
lot
is.
of big
It's
models.
very
So-
empty land.
But I'll be damned if I don't love me some Shadow of the Colossus, because not only is it like I said, very beautiful, but it's exactly what I like. 13 giant bosses, all with their own patterns. Great story, great atmosphere. Well, not great story, but it's a great atmosphere that tells a great story.
It's a very simple story. It's sort of that atmospheric storytelling through actions, and telling a very different story where the beautiful thing about it is that like when you joke and say that Mario was a jerk who murders a lot of people to save one woman.
Yeah, that is Shadow of the Colossus in a nutshell.
But yeah, they flip it on its head and they say, because he's killing these, he could be making these creatures extinct.
Yeah.
There's obviously not a lot of them running around, and you have to provoke them usually to attack you.
I think the best part of Shadow of the Colossus is its mystery. It doesn't really tell you. You kind of figure out things as you go along. And it's a really good game that can pull some emotion out of you, especially when you think you're doing things for the right reason or the wrong reason, and it's all flipped on its head, like you said.
In a way, I would call it the perfect video game in its simplicity.
Yeah, I would agree. I know people who hate it, but I can completely understand why. But for those who
they suck at video games. That's the problem.
it is a hard game. But I can't wait for that. Was it 2018 or did they just say whenever? I think
I
right.
don't know.
Probably 2019.
I'm so used to Sony just announcing things, and they're not too concerned about the actual release date that I didn't get too excited about it. All right,
But
what's
I will
yours?
say,
yeah,
I will say real
it.
quick that they showed, I think, at least 4 or 5 of the bosses. So the fact that they have that moving, unless it's CGI and it's just pre-rendered, like they've done a decent amount of work on it from what I've seen. So maybe it's not too far off. My number 4 is it's another game that we've seen plenty of times before. It's Cuphead. Cuphead is was once kind of like Shadow of the Colossus, where it was just boss fights. 2D side scroller. The thing that stands out about it is the art style. It looks like your Steamboat Willie, your old school 1950s animation. But they got such a good response from it after the past few E3s that they got a lot of funding, and now it's like a full-fledged 2D side scroller. You still have your big bosses, but it's got levels and normal enemies and stuff. It's co-op. But the thing I liked about it was they actually gave us a release date. And it's not far off. It's September, I want to say 29th, or at least it's the last week of September of this year. So this is a game that I've been waiting for years and years.
That was kind of like the Fallout 4 of this year.
Correct.
Coming out just in a few months, right after summer.
It's one of those things that I've been hearing about, seeing a ton of trailers, been following. Every time they show gameplay for it, I'm totally on board. And so knowing that I get to play it in just a few months was a great moment for me. I was like, yes, finally! I finally want to play this game. Mm-hmm. And if you guys have never seen this, it is not an Xbox One exclusive, and that's something I just kind of want to bring up in general. Xbox One console exclusives are very few and far in between. A lot of these Xbox exclusives are now Windows 10 as well. So if you don't have an Xbox and you want to play Cuphead, just don't have a Mac. That's it. You can play it.
Yeah, I always thought it was funny when Microsoft said, we're going to make all these games on Xbox, they're on Windows 10. And to me, if I only had a Windows 10 machine, and they said that, I would be like, oh, okay, I guess I'll just grab a PS4 because I have no need to buy an Xbox now.
Yeah, I think they've changed the verbiage to Microsoft exclusive, but I still think during the E3 presser they kept saying Xbox exclusive, or it'd always say Xbox at the top. I think they should really try and identify the fact that it is both things, because I can't tell you how many people I saw on my Facebook page, on the podcast stuff, that they were like, I really wish I had an Xbox because I want to play Cuphead. And I'm like, you have a PC, right? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, you can play it.
Yeah, they should just change it to not on PS4.
Yeah, that's pretty much what they could do. Just not Sony or Nintendo. Sorry, guys.
Suck it, Sony. Cuphead's here. Have fun.
Cuphead's gonna be great.
Neo and Nier. This is our big game. All right, my big moment of number 3 is that Spider-Man looked great.
Yeah, dude.
I thought it looked really, really good. I've never played an Infamous game. I'm sure that there's a lot of mechanics from Infamous are in here, but to me it looked like the best parts of Uncharted, with those big set pieces and just kind of, tippy tapping your way through it, and then the Arkham style combat that really suits Spider-Man, and then using stealth. It just, I didn't think it was going to have those big huge moments, the girder falling down the middle of the city and then chasing after the helicopter. I mean, that was a great demo.
Here's the thing about Spider-Man. Did you ever play Spider-Man 2 for like PlayStation 2, GameCube, that kind of era?
Yeah, that had good web flying.
Yes, that game was good. And here's what I thought. I thought it was going to be an Insomniac, because they made Sunset Overdrive, which was very stylish, and the controls were, getting used to. When I saw him do that big swing, like towards the beginning, I was like, good, thank God. It looks like they nailed that Spider-Man 2.
Right.
And all they have to do is have that set piece thing. And like you said, when the girder was falling and all that crazy stuff towards the end of the demo, yeah, it's QTE. But I don't think you can just do that in a Spider-Man game without QTEs. So yeah, I'm real excited. Last year when they said Spider-Man, Insomniac, I was sold already. This sells me even more. I cannot wait for this game.
That's a good point. Sunset Overdrive has great movement mechanics, and in a way you could get away with Spider-Man being in that sort of environment, but it doesn't feel as epic. Where Sunset Overdrive just feels like it's about 20 feet off the ground.
Yes.
I want it to feel like you are hundreds of feet off the ground.
But also Sunset Overdrive, you're forced to be off the ground because there's a bunch of zombies, whereas Spider-Man, you want to be as high up as possible because that's the point of being Spider-Man. So I'm really glad that they took, there was a lot of mechanics in late game Sunset Overdrive that involved, like kind of swinging from buildings, jumping from them, and the fluidity of that movement was like, wow, it could be good if they made a Spider-Man game like this. And the fact that they are, I'm just saying that I'm glad that the Insomniac has obviously gotten down the movement. The set pieces and all the really cool fighting and stuff like that it's just additional awesomeness to. I want to be Spider-Man flying around New York. That's what I'm saying. That's all I want.
Give me number 3.
Number 3, I got. Yeah, you know what? Let's go Nintendo. Mario Odyssey, Super Mario Odyssey.
Yeah. Okay.
When they showed the Nintendo Switch announcement thing back in January, we saw a little bit of this. That's when we were all like, "What? Why is Mario in New York?" And then this was the event where they showed that, guys, it's more than that. It's not just like Mario in weird places. It's got flavors of Super Mario Brothers 2. You see some of that in like the plants that they got popping around. The whole hat throwing mechanic, everyone's freaking out about. Honestly, I'm on it. Depends on how much they utilize it, but what it shows
looks
is
like
that
a lot. It looks like, they're putting this hat on everything, and
correct.
they want you to experiment, almost like Breath of the Wild, instead of experiment with the physics of it.
The thing that I was worried about with Super Mario Odyssey is, I said, I really hope they don't just make a kind of half-assed Galaxy but bigger, like, oh, Galaxy, but you can go to Human World and stuff like that. What they showed is not only do they have a good grasp on different amounts of environments that show different colors and color palettes, but they're, like you said, adding mechanics that will pull into different puzzle elements and stuff like that. So if anything, Super Mario Odyssey at E3 showed that it's not just a canned Mario or 3D Mario experience. It's an addition. It's something new. It's something fresh. And maybe some people might not like the whole hat throwing thing, but I think if Nintendo does what Nintendo always does and does it well, it's going to be probably like the best 3D Mario game we've seen in a very long time. So I just wanted to mention that it looks great. It looks absolutely great. I didn't watch like the 45 minutes of Treehouse footage they had. I'm not sure if you did, but just based off the trailers.
That's sometimes hard to get through.
Yeah, I watched like 2 or 3 minutes because honestly, I don't want to watch someone play 40 minutes of a game that I want to play, So
I think it looks good because it looks very fast, and
yes.
It's nice to see Mario in HD again. I like that the hat seems to keep him going fast when he can throw it and jump on it. They didn't really show too much of that, using the hat as an extra platform to get across. The one thing that
you can use it to get coins and collectibles and stuff, though. I like that.
Yeah, basically everything. It's like the pointer in Mario Galaxy. The levels look gigantic.
Yes, and that's why I wanted to say the last point on that is what Nintendo really needed is a big, meaty game for their holiday to sell systems and also keep people interested in the Switch as you see this 2018 Kirby, Yoshi, all those stuff they announced. And, Mario games, 3D Mario games are good, but they're decently lengthed, but they're not as big as, say, like a Breath of the Wild. And like you said, Odyssey's levels look so big that I think this is going to be a game that will sell systems, that people will put a lot of hours into, and it's exactly what Nintendo needs to make it through the holiday when you have all these other crazy games coming out on PlayStation and Xbox.
Yeah, I think it was Reggie was saying that Zelda got them the core gamer audience that puts a lot of time into games, but Mario is going to bring in the market that they really want, that sort of child to old man.
And that's a super smart idea to drop that right now, because the next two hot things you have on your list are going to be Pokemon and Kirby and Yoshi, which are more younger oriented games. What do you have, man, for your number
two? It was one of the few moments that made me go, holy shit, involuntarily. And it was the logo of Metroid Prime 4. I thought Nintendo was like, nah, we don't want to make that anymore. Those games are stupid. They've ignored it for so long. I mean, maybe they were going to put it out on Wii U. When they announced, Metroid Prime Federation Force, it seemed like they didn't care anymore and they were done with it and they just wanted to do something different. They're like, no, we like to do new things. How about a gyroscopic Metroid that's controlled by amiibos? That would be way more fun, don't you think? Metroid Prime 4, the very Sony announcement, a logo, and then they're like, we're working on it.
Yeah, and you know what, when you involuntarily said holy shit, I think that was the holy shit heard across the globe, because I'm laying in my bed. I wasn't feeling that great towards the tail end of E3, and I'm laying in my bed on my phone, just kind of looking at it, and I see a 4 pop up, and Metroid Prime 4, and I go, oh, and then I hear my little brother from halfway across the house going, oh! So
really?
Yeah, it's just a cacophony of, and I think Nintendo finally understood why Sony gets away with just, like you said, logo and trailer, because people just want to know it exists. They want to, in a world of video games where it's very much, here's the developer and publisher, and here's the gamer who doesn't have a lot to say. We just want reminders that, the companies know that we like these properties and are continuing to make them. Off of the Metroid Prime 4 thing, they also announced a Metroid 2 remake for 3DS, and that was
in the treehouse.
In the treehouse, and that was... It was a little bit bittersweet for me, but if you guys remember the AM2R stuff, which was a fan-remade Metroid 2, and then they got super shut down, it was the first time in a long time where Nintendo actually did that for a real reason. Like, hey, don't make this fan-made game because we're making an actual remake. So that was interesting in the least. I wouldn't say it's a top E3 moment, because Nintendo telling people to not make fan-made games is bullshit in general, but it was at least nice that Nintendo didn't shut that down for no reason.
I see their point. It's not their property. You know what you should do, AM2R people, is put all your resources into just making a game that looks like Metroid. Call it Axiom Verge.
Yeah.
Or call it Stardew Valley. And actually make money.
I think a lot of these people, the developers who use properties, they don't believe in their own ideas enough that they want to piggyback off of an already great IP. And like you said, Axiom Verge, just look at a game like that made by one dude. Stardew Valley made by one dude, right?
Yep.
It's just, guys, believe in yourself. Be the you that believes in you. Be the me that believes in you.
Wow.
That's Metroid stuff was good for Nintendo. Across the board. Yeah. I had it on my list, but I moved it because it was a Sony thing. My number 2. It's kind of a 2-for-1. I kind of cheated.
Okay.
I'm gonna call it the good parts of Bethesda's E3 press conference. Wolfenstein 2 and Evil Within 2. Both sequels. both coming out 2 weeks apart from each other. October 13th for Evil Within and October 27th for Wolfenstein 2. Wolfenstein 2 is just a fan favorite for me. I've talked about it in a previous video that Wolfenstein 3D was the first game I ever played, so I have an undying love for that franchise. So to see an 8-minute trailer where they showed off, plenty of story, you got to see the kind of Americana look, the strawberry milkshake scene. It was all very, very Wolfenstein for me, and it was what I expected from the sequel.
Kind of reminded me of Inglourious Bastards with the Nazi
Yes.
officer coming in and then asking for the papers.
It's in the kind of global climate we're in today, and I'm not going to get political. I just want to kill a lot of racist people, so it's good for me to vindictively do that. But the real thing I liked was Evil Within 2, because not
really good.
That's why they approached it with the trailer of the trippiness. I think they really understood what made Evil Within 1 work, what made it not work. The gameplay you saw was much more firepower heavy, a lot of automatic weapons, it seemed. It looks like they're amping up the action, but also amping up the style and the overall weirdness of it. And I think that's going to do way better than Evil Within 1 did. But that's, I would honestly say, between the two trailers, Evil Within 2 was the most impressive to me. I just had to put Wolfenstein 2 on there because I would be remiss if I didn't.
Evil Within 1 had bad marketing. It has a bad box. I could draw the cover box from Evil Within 1 from memory, but I don't know what the game was about. And Evil Within 2 trailer was so good, it made me want to go back and check out the first one.
Well, that's the funniest thing, is because when Evil Within 2's trailer was starting, you get this weird, go watch it if you haven't, it's a great trailer. You get all this weird imagery, and then you hear the girl go, Sebastian, you have to find your daughter. And I'm like, what game is this? And it's the same protagonist, but just the fact that you'd seen all these horror elements, and then you hear the main character's name, and I was still like, I don't know what game this was. It showed that Evil Within 1 didn't stick as hard as it could have.
Yeah.
Here's to hoping Evil Within 2 will. Matt, what's your number one?
Hang on. I mean, are you going to be this excited when Bethesda announces they're going to remake Catacomb 3D, another great id classic?
Dude, don't laugh. Catacomb 3D was my bomb. Shooting out those little pew, pew.
Yeah.
All right, but I think Catacomb 3D, I think you can only... How could you even make that into a modern shooter? It would just be a mage game, really. Catacomb 3D only worked because you were just a kid running through a maze and you had, some blasting powers. But you know what? That's crazy, because I completely forgot that game existed until you just said it, and I just had a wash of, the hours and hours that my 4-year-old self spent smacking on it. Great game, dude. Go download Catacomb 3D if you've never played it.
How about a gritty Commander Keen reboot?
Dude, Commander Keen, Duke 3D 2, or Duke Nukem 2 cross Commander Keen reboot. It would be crazy.
Or Bio... I can't remember the name of it. But
Bionic Commando?
Biomenace.
Oh, Biomenace, okay.
It was like Duke Nukem, but the guy had a machine gun.
Yeah, all right, I remember that now. Yeah.
My number one.
Let's hear it.
This was another sort of holy shit moment.
Mm-hmm.
Start with that gorgeous CGI trailer. And then you see this strange, lots of people swearing, British accents, all kinds of exotic locales. It was like the Fifth Element. And
that
then,
monkey.
And then they go, oh yeah, Beyond Good and Evil 2. And then I thought, oh, I'm so stupid. Of course, you got a pig person and all these animal people. But the tone was so different. So this one's kind of bittersweet for me because, I mean, it looks... Well, the CGI looks good, but we haven't seen any of the actual gameplay. But the tone is so different. I'm a little worried. Beyond Good and Evil 1 was great because it's, it's like a Zelda game.
We talked about this in a video we did about our top Xbox original games.
Yeah.
Beyond Good and Evil is great, but that's exactly... I echo what you said exactly. I was looking at this trailer and I was like, that's a pig. That looks a lot like Beyond Good and Evil, but it's so different. It's because it's a prequel. It's before Jade. It's before all the stuff that happened in Beyond Good and Evil 1. It's all about, really, I think, the whole fencing and stealing stuff and the adventure and all that. But like you said, it doesn't look like Beyond Good and Evil 1, and I think we need to see gameplay. Who the hell are we playing as? Who are we playing as? Are we playing as the chick who was with the monkey? I'm confused on that.
I think you're the monkey, motherfucker.
Okay, see, because that would be weird, because in the original, you play as Jade, strong female protagonist. We're going to play as a monkey who swears a lot and sounds like he smokes weed 24/7. It was pretty much that kind of dude. So we'll have to see the gameplay.
I mean, the pot-smoking Rust guys who fix your hovercraft, the tone with them was really funny, but it's because they were a side part. Jade was more of she was a better protagonist that you could sink yourself into. I'm fine when you think about Half-Life 1 and 2. They were really great games.
Oh, you just brought up Half-Life.
Yeah. Well, as an example, those games were great because they did something different. To make a Half-Life 3 that just felt like a Half-Life game would be so underwhelming because that's not the reason Half-Life is so cool. It's because
at this point you have to innovate.
So maybe Beyond Good and Evil, I still have faith that although it's probably not going to be anything like the first one, maybe its strength is that it's going to be really innovative. They were actually talking a little bit to, I think on IGN they had talked a little bit. They'd seen some gameplay of it, and that there's going to be this whole dynamic of either rescuing slaves. There's going to be a lot of recruiting.
Okay.
So, or you can destroy these big ships, or you can recruit the people from them. But you got to remember, the director said we've made a seamless online world. So it's going to be another one of those fucking games. Everything's goddamn online now.
See, I didn't know that. And now that you say that, it's like, here is my excitement. And then it's just kind of slowly going down.
Is like our online games... Is that just how it seemed like every game was an online game now? I don't know if it's a trend or if that's just how it's going. It's like MOBAs. I thought that trend will go away. Nope, that's competitive gaming now.
You're completely on the dot. Do you know what we know about Death Stranding? It has Guillermo del Toro, potentially. It has the guy from Walking Dead whose name I can't remember. And it has online capabilities.
Ugh.
We don't know the genre, but we know it has online capabilities. Like, that was the second thing out of Hideo Kojima's mouth. Oh, and they announced that last year. So I think that is a trend. I think Beyond Good and Evil 1 was good because it was such a strong single-player narrative, and I think making it online might dampen the blow a little bit. And with that,
what's your number one? Let's leave on a high note.
It's
online capabilities.
Well, technically you have to be online. It's the Xbox backwards compatibility thing. And here's the thing is,
that was a fun announcement.
It was fun, but it also bleeds into something that I've always really kind of pictured and enjoyed the image of. So, like, yeah, you can play Xbox One, this is going to get so difficult now. You can play original Xbox, Xbox 360, and Xbox One games on the same console. I think that's great. I think that's exactly what
there's going to be a lot of angry kids at the dinner table explaining this to their parents, like, no, Mom, this is the Xbox One X. That's the original Xbox.
You can't pause the online system. The Xbox One plays all of the old games, well, with exceptions, obviously. I feel like that's where we should be in the industry. I think I should turn on my PS3 or my PS4 and be able to play all the way back to PS1, PS2 games. But what I like the most out of this is now an original Xbox, an Xbox 360, and an Xbox One can all be independently, or not independently, but land together to play a game. Now that is a thing, so say you, Matt, at home
Battlestar Galactica.
Say you have Crimson Skies for the Xbox, right? On your original Xbox, and I have it on the Xbox 360. Well, I only have the 360, right? But I have the game, and then Johnny Schmo over next down the street, he's got Xbox One Crimson Skies. We can all bring our consoles to the same house and just link them up and play Crimson Skies. That's amazing to me that you can have three different systems completely separated by almost a decade or multiple decades, and you can link them together and just play the same game. Also,
like a computer.
Exactly, like a computer. And this also gives me hope that maybe because when they took old 360 games and made them backwards compatible that might have lost some of their online services, those were forced back on. So now that the Xbox original games are backwards compatible, like if you put Halo 2 out there, it's going to have servers again. So maybe in some crazy world, Time Splitters 3 will have Level Editor online back. It probably won't. It won't happen. But like, there's a small glimmer of hope. And generally speaking, I like backwards compatible. What did you think about it, Matt? Because I know it's not like Xbox isn't your favorite system. You enjoyed the original Xbox quite a bit. What were your whole take on the whole backwards compatibility?
Hey, man, I like all the consoles. I want them to all do equally well, so that they have to compete with each other tooth and nail to win our love.
Competition makes innovation.
What I liked about the announcement is that I think it was a really great thing for Microsoft, because Microsoft is, I think they finally dug themselves out of the hole of that whole, like, oh yeah, you want to play not online, go get a 360.
We have a console for non-online players.
Yeah. So, I mean, this kind of move is a very charitable move because they're not making any money off this. They're not reselling these old Xbox games. You're just going to go buy these old Xbox games, at a thrift store for $5. This costs them a lot of money to develop. It takes up a lot of resources, and it offers them no direct money in return. Maybe it'll convince somebody who owned an original Xbox and has all those games and is now deciding on a PS4 or an Xbox One.
They might throw some of those on the Xbox digital store. If you remember on 360 how they had original games on demand, like that'll cost $20. But you're not going to see an exorbitant amount of money made from this. So it was really a thing for the fans.
Yeah, it was a nice statement. I think that, like, if we're going to talk about who won E3, if you're defining that as who's had the most improved, like who had the most improvement, I would say Microsoft by far came out going into this. PS4, everybody knew every month they've been widening the gap. They've got huge control of the market, but Xbox is not a slouch either. There's tons of Xbox Ones out there. But this year we saw Neo, we saw Nier Automata, we're seeing Horizon Zero Dawn.
Fantastic game.
And then on Microsoft's side this year, we just heard Scalebound gets canceled. So in terms of exclusives, the narrative had become Sony is the place to go. But Microsoft came out, they showed a buttload of games, tons of exclusive. That's exactly what they needed to do. And then they also said, hey, backwards compatibility, Sony can't do it. We can do it. We can do any. We don't care.
You know what, now that I've been thinking about this, because we were thinking about who won E3, and I can't say that there was a clear winner. There's only two winners here. There's Xbox and there's Sony. Xbox, like you said, won by reinforcing their brand, and Sony won by showing you how you do a press conference. Look, I have issues with the fact that they, here's another God of War trailer, here's another Days Gone gameplay trailer, things we had already seen. But when it comes down to pure people talking versus gameplay ratio, forget the band early on. Like, that was the only, I guess, not weird thing, but the only thing that wasn't straight gameplay. It was
it was still exciting.
Yeah, it was fun. Before the Uncharted thing, Sony shows you what you do. You have one guy come out. You go, hey, look at this cool thing, and then trailers. You pepper it in. Microsoft did a good job reinforcing the brand, but they had the stupid like, hey, we partner with Porsche, so here's this super expensive Porsche you'll never buy.
That was so dumb.
They had screaming esports commentator.
Oh my god,
guy.
I forgot they had that too.
Yeah, so I can't say that Microsoft won, not with shit like that bugged the hell out of me. The Porsche thing was whatever, but the guy screaming, I was like, oh, I'm going to turn it off, Microsoft.
And Terry Crews screaming too. Even though Terry Crews is well loved by gamers.
Yeah, I like Terry Crews. His screaming wasn't the worst. I would take the screaming. If it was between those two, I would take Terry Crews screaming. But I think this year, everyone did really well except for EA, and Bethesda kind of forced themselves. Bethesda didn't have enough to warrant a press conference. Let's just be honest. They didn't. No. They couldn't find themselves in other people's press conferences because Microsoft and Sony were so stacked that I don't think they would have it. Microsoft in the first place was already longer than their normal 90-minute time slot. So dropping Wolfenstein 8-minute trailer there wasn't going to work. Dropping an Evil Within 8-minute trailer at PS4 wasn't going to work. So they're kind of forced in there. But yeah, man, I think
Microsoft had the Anthem. The long Anthem trailer too.
Microsoft did come out with Anthem. I guess
or did PC Gaming
Anthem?
Had that first too?
No. Microsoft. Well, what happened first, PC Gaming or Xbox?
I don't know. I think
it was Xbox.
It's all blurred. They both had it, so it wasn't an exclusive, and it wasn't an exclusive for their system. Although I was worried when I saw that on the Microsoft conference. I thought, oh no, it's going to be like Mass Effect 1.
Yeah.
My Sony fanboy heart's not going to get to play it.
So I can't say a decisive winner. If it was going to be me, it would be Microsoft, but that's because I favor Microsoft. But honestly, objectively, Microsoft showed you how you make your brand stronger, and Sony showed you how you show off your content without all of the crap. Because it wasn't more than 3 years ago when they were literally showing us graphs of sales.
Yeah.
This used to be an industry and a shareholder kind of event. Now that it's gone public again, I think they're kind of going more towards that. They know gamers don't care about stock numbers, rising and falling stuff. We just want to see the games, and I think E3 2017 was a good start towards that. Who's your favorite in show? Your best in show? Who's your dog in the race?
I
Your
mean,
horse
yeah, I agree with you. Is that Sony has the best conference because it was all about games. It was 1 hour of games. That guy coming out, Sean Layden, I think his name is, talking for a minute. Then he was gone.
Yeah.
It was more and more games. You know, I liked what he'd said about. He sort of talked about the Xbox One X. I hate that name. He sort of talked about the Scorpio when he said it's a good time for games. Got a lot of games. Our consoles, we all have 4K consoles now. He didn't mention like 60 frames per second or anything, but he said, I thought that was an interesting thing because they know that the PS4 Pro is just so half-assed in that jump towards the next level, whereas the Scorpio is actually, like they said, it is a real monster of a console. That's another thing Microsoft did well is I think people left thinking, yep, that thing is super powerful. Look what this thing does. I mean, all the games looked great this year. I thought that, man, the visual fidelity is just crazy. Now that they've gotten their hands on this generation of hardware for a couple years, the next wave of games coming out look spectacular.
Look at a game like Metro Exodus. It's not a huge title. It doesn't have tons of money. It's based off of a fucking novel, for Christ's sake.
I know,
so it's not like, it's not like based off of the big hit movie. And that thing looks amazing, just amazing. So if you're looking at a game like that is not on the top, pecking list of AAA, and it looks that good, I can't wait to see what Naughty Dog does with, Last of Us 2. Like, it's gonna be crazy.
That was something Neil Druckmann had said when they asked him, why no Last of Us 2? He said it was Uncharted Lost Legacy's time to shine.
Also, The Last of Us 2 doesn't have anything more than like a half-rendered trailer at this point, guys. Like,
you know what else I was thinking is that Sony has PSX, so I think that they're holding back. And there's also Gamescom. There's so many of these. E3 used to be the only show of the year, and now we've got so many. Like when I was trying to think back, what were some of the other big moments, and some of the ones I had recalled about Sony weren't even from E3. They were from their PSX show.
Well, a lot of people were like, where was Bloodborne 2? And I'm like, it was at PSX, so you just haven't seen it yet. Like, that's where they're going to announce Bloodborne 2. And I think it gets into this because, like you said before...
Really? I think Miyazaki's so done with that franchise.
No, I mean, we know they're working on it. We know that we're... Well, really? I guess we only know as much as reports. All I've heard is Miyazaki say he's working on a sci-fi game. Who knows?
But he might do a couple. I mean, they made Bloodborne and Dark Souls 2 at the same time, and he just put his attention to Bloodborne and let the team work on Dark Souls 2. So we could have that kind of thing. I'm sure Sony is saying, we want Bloodborne 2.
Yeah, well, of course. But I think sci-fi is kind of the stylistic future. It seems we're pushing towards more of that kind of like mech kind of stuff. At least when it comes to like Dark Souls and those kind of games. But yeah, all around, man, I would say E3 was pretty nice this year. It was pretty good. Sans the EA bullshit. It was pretty good.
It wasn't. It didn't have any crazy moments. But I think we've been spoiled the last couple of years with some of the shit that Sony's been coming out with.
The cringe wasn't that bad, you know. I mean, there was some pretty bad stuff during the talk shows, but look at Ubi. Even their dancing intermission thing wasn't that bad.
It wasn't so bad at all. It was nice and quick. They didn't start the show off with it, so it didn't set the tone.
And there was actually real dancers.
Yeah. And Ubisoft is getting really good at conferences too. They brought out Miyamoto and got a standing ovation.
They start that shit off with Mario.
Yeah, that was really smart. To start with Miyamoto and end with Beyond Good and Evil 2, Ubisoft is getting really good at these.
I mean, Ubi, just real quick, I just want to say, like, they got me on that because they were showing Mario, whatever, Rabbids or whatever, and they panned back to the lead creative, who was, like, almost in tears about how happy he was that it's... Yeah, dude, like, that is what E3 is for. Not for crying developers, but for people being proud to show off their love and not about the numbers. So it was good to see that was kind of the baseline. I thought we
were watching a presentation about that dragging cancer for a second.
Exactly, dude. Holy shit.
Lots of tears. All right, well, there you go. If we think of any other crap we want to talk about E3, maybe the 5 best things to come off the show floor, then we'll be up here with one of those. Thanks.
You can always find our stuff. Oh, sorry, I cut you off, Matt. I'm so mean.
Hey, take it away.
Hey, you can always, if you want to see other E3 stuff or other stuff by us, you can find us at the90skid.com or right. You can find me on Twitter at SGC64Matt. Matt, where can they find you?
I'm on Twitter, Game Thing Talk, and I'm also on the90skid.com. If you like this shit, share it with a friend, motherfucker, just like Beyond Good and Evil 2, motherfucker!